Welcome to today's explainer. Look, if you're the kind of person who likes to know exactly what's going into your body, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're diving into a high-stakes investigation of a hidden mystery that might literally be sitting right inside your deli sandwich. We're breaking down a really fascinating report from Halal Radar. At first glance, pastrami just looks like simple, delicious, sliced beef, right? But here is the surprising reality we're going to unpack today. Pastrami is not just meat. It's a highly processed product. It's been cured, seasoned, smoked, and often treated with hidden additives way before it ever reaches your local deli counter. And for a Muslim navigating dietary laws, well, that complex journey changes the entire equation.
So, let's just jump right in with our central question. Is beef pastrami actually halal? You're probably thinking, wait, it's beef, it's not pork, so what's the problem? Why doesn't the word beef automatically mean halal when we're talking about pastrami? Well, the reality of modern food production is just incredibly complex. A simple animal protein goes through this massive chemical and mechanical transformation to become that flavorful lunch meat we all recognize. And the catch is, at any single step of that transformation, the halal status can be completely compromised.
Take a look at this contrast. We see the word beef on the front label, and boom, we instantly feel safe. Because obviously, cattle are inherently halal animals. But the hidden reality is a massive web of variables. You've got the curing process, the smoke application, all these microscopic additives, and a really high risk of cross-contamination. Islam doesn't just ask what animal the meat came from, it demands we look at how it was treated every single step of the way.
So, let's map out the 4 critical phases this meat goes through before it ever hits your plate. Step 1 is the meat itself. Step 2 is the complex curing chemistry. Step 3 involves the flavor and smoking systems. And finally, Step 4 is the physical handling and cross-contamination.
Phase 1, Origin and Slaughter.
All right, starting right at the very beginning of the supply chain. Yes, cattle are fundamentally halal animals, but that biological origin, it's just a prerequisite. Beef only becomes halal for Muslims when the animal is actually slaughtered according to strict Islamic requirements. Now, pastrami typically comes from the beef brisket or navel cuts. If that specific cut wasn't obtained through proper halal slaughter, the process just stops right here. The final product is immediately haram, forbidden, regardless of what happens next.
Phase 2, Hidden Chemistry.
So once the meat passes that slaughter test, it enters the processing facility. And man, this is where the complex curing chemistry takes over. Just look at this breakdown. Over on the safe side, we've got the basics, right? Salt, sugar, standard spices, and normal preservatives like sodium nitrite. But take a look at the doubtful column. To get those specific textures and tastes, manufacturers often use generic flavorings, which is basically just food industry speak for hidden variables. If they rely on gelatin to bind the meat, or if they use animal-derived enzymes without clear halal verification, this perfectly good beef suddenly becomes a really serious issue.
Phase 3, Smoke and Natural Flavors.
This brings us to a really deceptive layer of culinary engineering, modern food labeling. The absolute crucial point to remember here is that a term like natural does not equal halal. Actual physical wood smoke? That's perfectly fine. But a lot of commercial products use liquid smoke or these deep penetrating marinades that secretly harbor alcohol-based carriers just to dissolve the flavor compounds. You simply cannot assume a natural flavor tag on a processed meat product means it's automatically safe for us.
Phase 4, the silent threat of cross-contamination.
Okay, so let's say the beef, the curing agents, the flavorings, let's say they were all totally clean. We now enter what is arguably the most critical phase, the hidden traps waiting for you right at the local deli counter. Notice these cross-contamination risks firing off. Your beautiful, clean pastrami might literally be sliced on the exact same rotary machine that just cut pork ham. It might be tossed onto a shared grill, handled by staff wearing the exact same gloves, or served up with specialty sauces that contain alcohol. That shared preparation environment can ruin absolutely everything that was done right in the factory.
I want to pause here and read this powerful quote directly from the Halal Radar investigation. Beef pastrami does not mean halal pastrami. It only tells us the animal type. This completely shatters that common assumption we talked about at the beginning of the explainer. The word beef is a biological identifier, and nothing more. It's never enough of a guarantee. It doesn't confirm halal slaughter, it doesn't promise clean processing, and it absolutely does not protect you against the deli slicer.
All right, it's time for the Halal Radar verdict. Now that we've meticulously gathered all the evidence across these 4 phases,
Here is the official, unambiguous ruling. Avoid, because pastrami beef is halal only if the beef is halal slaughtered and the curing, flavoring, processing, and slicing are free from alcohol, pork derivatives, non-halal animal ingredients, and cross-contamination. Basically, if it lacks certification or comes from a mixed meat deli, you've got to avoid it entirely.
The pure rizq protocol.
Look, understanding the problem is really only half the battle, right? Knowing what to do next is what truly matters. So here are your specific marching orders. First, always look for a reliable third-party halal certification symbol. Second, read those ingredients carefully. Keep an eye out for red flags like gelatin or vague flavor systems. Third, empower yourself. Ask questions at the deli about shared slicers, gloves, and grills. And finally, the golden rule. If the answer is unclear, just leave it for the sake of Allah. You know, it's really important to take a step back here and remember why we even go through this rigorous investigation in the first place. The goal is not to make food difficult, and it's certainly not to create unnecessary hardship. The true goal is to make our rizq, our provision, pure. Ensuring that what we consume actually aligns with our values is just a foundational aspect of living a mindful, spiritual life.
This is a beautifully poignant quote from a source material that just hits the nail on the head. A sandwich lasts minutes, but what we feed our bodies affects our worship, our dua, and our hearts. It connects the simple, physical act of eating a meal to the profound spiritual impact it has on our daily lives. The investigation doesn't stop at the front label because the consequences of our food go so far beyond just our taste buds.
And that brings us to our final thought for this explainer. We've traced the journey of pastrami from the slaughterhouse to the slicer, revealing all the hidden chemistry and the silent threats along the way. Now the lens turns back to you and your daily choices. When you look at the food on your plate today, whether it's pastrami or literally anything else, ask yourself, is your rizq pure? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those questions, keep reading those labels, and stay curious.